Fryer?
Yeah.
Robert Fryer?
He had to leave.
Paul Molinari?
I was on the hearing.
That was okay, which you spoke already. Okay. Robert Ripp?
My name is Robert Ripp. I live at 77 Sunset.
Can you just wave us a little bit of a malfunction?
Oh, yeah, sure. Let me know when you're done. Tell me when you're done.
Since these data malfunctions are, streaming's not working again.
It's not working?
Oh, what a coincidence.
It's good enough that it's working again.
He's 10 minutes. Why don't we put it on this?
Let me know when you get everything coordinated.
Yeah, well, thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I want to start out with Resolution 309. I want to bring your attention to the backup material here. First of all, this is a resolution where we're looking to sell $15 million in revenue anticipation notes. And the backup information, there's very little information here. It says that there's no mention of any of the interest rates or the terms, and it claims that normally, from what I understand, in a revenue anticipation note, you sell the notes, get the money, and you do some sort of project with it. And what you have here is in anticipation of the receipt of aid from the state of New York, the sales tax revenue, and mortgage tax recording as what you intend on counting on to repay this $50 million. I'd like to bring your attention that the lack of backup material, I don't believe you should proceed with this resolution today. I don't know if you received the June 2nd decision in my last Article 78. I specifically had made an Article 78 based on the town's repeated violations of the open meeting law. I'd like to inform you that Judge Brown ruled that the Town of Oyster Bay Town Board shall report to the New York State Committee on Open Government for a training session. And
which resolution is this on?
this is on I'm speaking about 309. And if you read, what the point I'm trying to make is, if you get a chance to read this, this is index number 1834-17, Rip against Town of Oyster Bay, you find out that the judge rules that you need to answer people's questions up here. Not answering questions is considered violating the open meetings law.
Let me start off right now by answering a question and providing some information. Just for public consumption, this was a lawsuit that you brought against the town and you lost. So it's
I won. This is a lawsuit that I brought against the town, and I prevailed on everything. This lawsuit has to do with, there are 2 instances of violations of open meeting law, which you're now going to be attending remedial training on. There were a number of FOIL requests which were legally withheld.
I think we're getting a little...
I'd like to answer the question, please.
Certainly.
So I just want to answer the question so we're all on the same page. All right, the judge in this action has ordered that you have 30 days to answer my outstanding FOIL request. By June 30th, you have to provide to the court all the information in regards to Mr. McCaffrey and the 26 individuals that were interviewed for his position. And then what's going to happen is on July 18th, we're all going to go back to court.
Mr. Rip, let's get you an answer. If you make it,
I'm sorry, I'm still answering your question. Let me finish answering your question.
Make the accusation we're not answering questions because right now you're way off of the resolution.
Well, I'm answering your question, sir.
No, sir.
So on July 18th, we're all going to go back to court, and the
Mr.
court's
Rip,
going to
please.
determine that you've complied with the order on the here. So, Mr. Imbrodo, that's the action I'm speaking about.
Thank you, Mr. Rip. Thank
So,
you.
in relation to 309,
Excuse me, can you stop time for a second? I only read that this morning, you sent me a copy of that. I'd like to get a copy of these things that come up, this is going to come from the town board, can you please, the town attorney, forward me a copy?
Please, Mr. Nocella, please come forward.
would you like me to step aside?
Please.
No problem, thank you.
The decision was, we received it yesterday and emailed to the entire town board.
I didn't receive a copy, I apologize, but I didn't receive a copy.
Let's make sure we get another copy to the council.
Absolutely.
I got it from Mr. Rip this morning, actually, but he emailed me a copy this morning.
Sure, I can show you how it was emailed even from my phone, but it
Okay.
was emailed from my office.
Either way,
Thank
let's
you.
make sure that each and every one of the board members have a copy in their possession, so that...
So if I don't get back to you personally, please reach out to me, because I will say I got it. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Councilman Imbrotto did get back to me and acknowledge receipt of it. I'll note that I'll actually ask everybody to acknowledge receipt, just receipt. And if I don't get an acknowledgement from you, Councilman, I'll forward it in some other form.
Well, it was not germane to the issues at hand for the public's consumption. I believe it's very important to set the record straight. Mr. Ripp is under the impression that he won this lawsuit. Can you speak to that?
That's largely incorrect. Almost every form of relief that he sought was denied by the court. He wanted to nullify 2 town resolutions. The court denied that request. It upheld the resolutions and said we could go forward with that. There were other applications that were made by Mr. Ripp. They were denied in their entirety. During oral argument, Mr. Ripp was asked about his FOIL requests, and he said he was no longer interested in them and he abandoned them. That part of the judge's written order, however, did grant the FOIL requests. We believe that's in error, as we also believe certain other elements of Judge Brown's decision are in error, and we intend to take an appeal, which incidentally stays any relief that was granted. Mr. Ripp didn't correctly note that Judge Brown recommended that the town board have open public meeting training, but I want to note that Supervisor Saladino's entire proposals that lead to open and transparent government caused us to have this as part of the agenda anyway. We were planning on training, especially for the new members of town government and for the new members of the town board, and all those would benefit from a refresher course on that. So even though that segment of Judge Brown's order is stayed, it's still something that, consistent with your initiatives toward open and transparent government, we intend to go forward with voluntarily.
Mr. Nocella, is it true that we have now added ethics training to the different types of training for our town board members and our employees?
That is absolutely correct.
And is it true that the town board members have attended that, and perhaps our newest one, I'm not positive if...
I did not, I was out of town.
You were out of town.
I haven't attended yet.
So can we make sure that not only that we provide new dates for ethics training for our town board members, that we're also including this information that the judge had recommended?
Yes, most definitely. Again, Supervisor, I believe it had been planned by you all along as part of your transparency and open government initiatives. So that's why, regardless of whether the judge's order is stayed while we're pursuing an appeal, we intend to go through with it voluntarily.
Thank you very much. So, Mr. Rick, let's get to the question of...
So 309, the resolution itself, sir, I don't think you should vote on this today because it's my opinion, based on the judge's prior decisions, that you haven't produced enough of the backup information that nobody can really
Your
understand.
opinions were proven to be faulty.
I'm sorry.
Your opinions were proven to be faulty by the court. You just heard the decision.
No, I just heard
Mr.
Mr. Nocella's rendition, but the transcripts that I have are going to prove everything that he just said wrong. So in relation to 309, I don't think that the town has followed the open meetings law and provided adequate information before you vote, especially $15 million in revenue anticipation bonds. I mean, I'll ask you, what do you intend on doing with the money?
Okay, if you're done, you can take a seat. And
No, I'm not done, and my time's not up, so I have some more resolutions, but I'd like to ask you, what are we going to do with the $15 million?
Happy to get these questions answered once you're fully done.
Okay, so just answer that one. Do we intend on using it?
Sir, maybe we're having a
I'd like to know what we're going to do with the $15 million.
Maybe we're having a communication breakdown. Please use your time to give us the information you'd like us to know, and then please take a seat and we'll get the information answered.
All right, I'd like to know in resolution in regards to resolution 318, I'd like to know why we're involved in doing business on school property. 318 was tabled, sorry. And resolution 323, I don't understand why the town, this is almost like a mini Sing thing in my opinion. Why would the town get involved in a surfing school where the revenue we expect to get is between $4,000 and $5,000? You don't, again, this isn't something that you're missing some serious backup information. There's no insurance information here. These are surf lessons, stand-up board lessons. Does it make sense for a company that's going to make $4,000 a year for the town? What if somebody drowns down there? To me, that makes no sense at all.
Thank you for your opinions.
You're welcome. In Resolution 312, actually 312 and 324. These, I want to try to straighten this out because we spoke about this in the past. Now, 312 is the Liberty Industrial Site. And from what I understand, what we're in litigation now is how much we're going to pay for the property. So I'd like to know how much we've paid year to date in litigation over that. And then 324, is it 324? Yeah, 324. Now, this is the Bethpage Community Park. Now, we're in litigation over that because somebody's going to be responsible for the approximate $81 million cleanup. So I'd like to know where we stand on that one also. And then I just have 301. It's really the zombie houses. I was under the impression that 45 Thurman, I thought we had passed...
75.
75, so thank you, Mr. Beckman. I thought you had passed a resolution to demolish that last time, a meeting ago. Maybe I misunderstood. But what I'm interested in is, if you remember the grant money that we received back with Resolution 617 of 2016, I think we got almost $400,000, and the town had made plans to hire people and to train people for the zombie, for the New York State zombie register plan. So I'd like to know how we're making out with that, who's handling that. But what I'd really like to know is what we're going to do with the $15 million for the revenue anticipation bonds. How you plan on spending that money? If it's just going to be used for to make ends meet, to meet payroll, or if you have some sort of projects planned. So if you could answer me that about the $15 million, I'd really appreciate it.
Like
Thank
30
you.
million miles of road would be nice.
Yeah, you know what? Well, I have a couple of minutes. I was wondering, you know what, maybe it's for public comment. I just thought maybe the town, we might be able to get more hands-on involved with some of the road construction, maybe create some employment for people. But we'll talk about that in public comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
What's your question?
Oh, it's 15 million.
Okay, is Mr. D'Arienzo here?
Are you going to answer my question, sir?
Please be respectful. Mr. D'Arienzo, would you please step up to the microphone?
Oh my God.
Mr. D'Arienzo, we've had many conversations about financial issues, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so we have bonds that are coming to maturity.
The resolution that's on the calendar today is for revenue anticipation notes. We're asking the town board to authorize the possibility to issue them at some time during 2017. There have been no issuance made for this purpose so far this year, and there cannot be unless the town board says so.
Isn't it correct that we're still waiting for monies from the county, a portion of the sales tax, and other revenues?
That is the exact reason for this resolution. While the town of Oyster Bay prides itself on paying its bills in a timely fashion as soon as they come in, not every receivable that's due to us comes in the same timely fashion. So it's no secret that our cash position has deteriorated over the past couple of years, and we're in a precarious situation in which we're making inroads towards improving, but we're not all the way back just yet. So this allows us to borrow money on a short-term basis until such time as the money due to us comes in.
And then we'll be paying it back.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, what was the interest rate, sir?
As I mentioned,
Wait a second, I'll be asking the questions. So would you please tell us about this interest rate?
the resolution authorized the possibility to issue debt at a time later this year. There's no interest rate because we haven't borrowed any money yet. If the town board agrees to allow us to potentially borrow money, at that time we will sell these notes, and at that time we'll have an interest rate. But there's no interest rate to report at this time.
So basically, you want us to vote on something we don't know what it's gonna cost us?
Right.
Well, I can't exactly go to the market to borrow money without your authorization.
I realize, Councilman, I realize it's been that way in the past, but it really hasn't worked in the past.
But you can't just determine that until you know whether the Fed raises the rate, what our bond rating is, and everything else in the
Our-
marketplace, correct?
Typically, a revenue anticipation note is different than a bond anticipation note or a bond itself. You guys, the town board authorizes the capital program almost every year. We haven't done one for the past couple of years, but when we authorize a capital program each year, those authorizations are in effect for a period of 5 to 40 years. The town board authorizes the possibility at any time during that time frame to issue debt. And so you never know at the time of the authorization exactly how much interest is going to be. In this case, because it's a revenue anticipation note, the request is to be issued at sometime during 2017. It's a shorter period than any other authorization that comes before this board. With that being said, I still can't guarantee what the interest rate will be at the time of borrowing.
Mr. D'Arienzo, do you go out into the market? Is that how this is done?
Yes, absolutely. Once, we issue debt 2 to 3 times a year. Our next ban renewal is due up on June 28th. So if the town board sees favorably, we will have a revenue anticipation note that happens at the same time as the ban renewal, to have the issuance happen all at one time to save costs for our bond counsel, our financial advisors, rather than have another issuance, 3 or 4 months down the road, where we're duplicating the same efforts and paying them twice.
Are there any other questions? Thank you very much.
No problem.
Could you please answer the rest of my questions for the other
Mr. Ripp.
things? I'm just asking politely, sir.
Mr. Ripp, you're going to have to show a higher level of patience and decorum in this room.
Yes, sir.
You just were upset when I called Mr. D'Arienzo up here because I guess you were assuming I was calling on another resident, when actually I was calling on a town employee to get your question answered. I am now calling on another town employee to get one of your other questions answered.
Thank you very much. I
But
really
we're
appreciate it.
dealing with
Thank
a
you.
situation that does frustrate the residents when they come here in good faith to conduct themselves with decorum and patience and deal with government.
Thank you.
As it is, they've had to listen to you make accusations that are far from the truth. And I will remind you again to conduct yourself with decorum, with patience and professionalism.
I would if
I'd
you would
like to
identify
call-
the accusations you're
I'd like
speaking
to
about.
call,
You're making blanket statements.
I'd like to
Please,
call
please say the
Commissioner, this is
accusations.
exactly what I'm talking.
Yes, because you, sir, make
I'd
blanket
like to call
statements.
Commissioner Pinto to come forward. Thank you, Commissioner Pinto. We're going to try to get the residents' questions answered, despite the fact he's arguing against getting questions answered right now. The question came up about the
Mr.
surf
Public
school.
Space.
Okay.
Please, Mr. Rep, try to contain yourself. The question came up about surf school, and can you tell us if the public had asked for surf school? Can you tell us a little bit of the history?
I'll tell you what I know about the surf school. It was done last year as a pilot program, which the town and the residents really enjoyed, the relationship that we had with the people who were doing it. The town residents were loving it. So this year we decided to go out and put out to an RFP. I think it's a 3-year contract. Quite honestly, the first group of proposals came in a little bit lower than what the committee had hoped. So we sent it back out and the fees have been elevated.
Okay, and this has been done according to all the laws and rules of the town of Oyster Bay in the way we conduct ourselves on every other RFP?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Has the decision been made on a school yet?
Yes, I believe it's on for voting today.
Okay. Thank you very much,
Excuse
Commissioner.
me, Commissioner, and that school has all the proper insurances,
Oh,
God forbid somebody gets hurt?
Oh, yeah, that's part of the RFP. We wouldn't have accepted a bid without the insurances and the town was being named as additionally insured.
Just want to make sure, sir,
Yep.
thank you.
So there is no truth to the accusations that were made by the residents?
I wasn't here for them, but I can just tell you
We
that.
have insurance,
We have
we're
insurance.
doing it properly, we're doing this as per law, and we're doing this in response to requests from the residents.
And following all our procedures and guidelines regarding RFPs for the town of Oyster Bay.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Are there any other residents who would like to speak?
You didn't answer all my
Mr.
questions,
McKenna,
sir.
come on up.
What about the other resolutions? No answer on the industrial stuff? Okay, it's up to you.